Okay, second video of the day. Let's hope this goes okay and I can actually edit something from it. As always, I ad-lib these, I don't prepare them. I've got a book here with a couple of notes, but this is not scripted, which is how I like to present it. I do it this way so it becomes more genuine, so you can not necessarily believe what I say, because I say it as it is. You know, I'll tell you what's good and what's bad all the time, so it definitely should be believable. But anyway, less of my style and more of the video. 4 months in with the Give Energy batteries. I can't believe it's been 4 months that I've had this system now. And when I first got it, I was excited because I really thought it had the great potential for being one of the best battery solutions out there. It was very keenly priced from what I could see, and the interface looked really good. For a very first release of their system, I thought it looked like it had great potential. So what's the experience actually been like over those 4 months then? So let's try and break this down into component parts. So if we cover hardware, software, support, etc., and cover it through in some sort of logical way. Well, hardware, I've had no issues, no faults whatsoever. I'm very, very happy with it. So both the inverter and the battery are sited in my garage. I'm very happy with that side of things. It still looks great. I've had no issues. And of course, you shouldn't do it. It's a small electrical component. It's a battery and an inverter. It shouldn't be that complicated. So it's great to be able to say, hardware's a big tick. I like it. There has been a little bit of a quirk that's happened in my ownership time with that Give Energy realized they could extract a little more performance out of the battery, as in capacity. So by changing the profile of charging, they could eke a little more capacity out of the battery. But unfortunately, in doing that, changing the profile of charging, which is common in charging batteries general, but they've decreased the performance that you get from the battery in doing so. And also, it's extended the time it takes to charge to 100% so far that actually, although in theory you get more capacity, I don't think as a customer you actually get more capacity out of it. So if they're basically saying that they had to change the charging profile to protect the battery because it was degrading, then that's one story, but that's not what they're saying. They're saying that they've made these changes to improve the capacity of the battery, not that there was a problem with the degradation at all. So my thought is I preferred how it was previously with less capacity, when you could charge it you could charge it faster to 100%, and getting to the 100% was actually achievable. So that's been a little bit of a quirk that's happened in between. As for software, that's the big one, I think, because these inert objects in your garage, they don't do anything. You don't touch or feel them or interface with them in any way whatsoever. So it is the online graphical user interface that is how, as a customer, you relate with this device. So how has that been? And I would say not so good. The software is definitely beta testing type software. It's full of quirks, it's not as reliable, it seems to be changing. I've had some data that appears in an export file. It's there 1 month and it's not the next. The values are changing and the narrative for how the values are being created are changing. So it's a work in progress, and that side of it I don't like. Now that's not across the whole device and the whole package, so don't be put off completely. But there's an indication, there's enough, shall we say, noise going on that makes you feel like it's a beta testing product. There have been issues where they've accidentally, or so they said, accidentally released a release of the software that caused it to go down. That was trying to add a second charge timer for battery charging overnight, and that didn't go so well. Now that was either quite a few weeks ago or maybe even last year, so over a month ago. And there's been no update on the actual new functionality coming out since. So it went out by accident. It didn't work, but there's been no working version since. So again, what it feels like and looks like is that development is slow. Development is not as well proceduralized and controlled as perhaps you'd hope for a mission critical system. Now I'll say mission critical system because if I have a problem with the My Energy app, I'll use that as a comparison, then I can pop outside to the Zappi or the Eddy and control it and change it and make it work using the interface on the device itself. The Give Energy battery and inverter has no interface. So you are 100% reliant on that web interface, that portal, working to be able to control the device. So you're not just checking how much battery state of charge it has, but you're changing the charging profiles, you're changing the state that it's in, the mode it's in. You are manipulating it potentially on a daily basis if you're on an Octopus Agile tariff, as I am. So that interface, in my opinion, is mission critical. So it is a little bit worrying that it seems possible for Give Energy to implement things and for it to go down. How many times have I experienced that? Probably about 3-4 times at the most, where I've noticed actual downtime where it hasn't performed at all. And that's been a little bit worrying. I think 2 of those occasions I needed it and I wanted to set the timers because I was getting close to a critical time. But other than that, it wasn't such a big deal. If we then look at the issue of response time and how responsive the app is and whether you get the data in a reasonable time frame, I'd probably say I've had 10 to 15 instances of where I haven't had a response and you basically put the phone away and walked away from it because you couldn't use it. So the Give Energy app and the interface isn't necessarily perfect. It does feel a little beta-ish, but it's not the worst. My Energy, for example, is still not working for me this morning where Give Energy is. I'm probably getting twice as many instances where that's not responding as it should do compared to Give Energy. So yeah, Give Energy is not as slick and as perfect as the Solar Edge app, but it's not as bad as the My Energy app. And what's worth saying with that though is it's not just about the experience and what works or doesn't work. For me, it's about the confidence in the future, because these products we're buying, batteries and solar panels and Zappi car chargers, etc., they're not a 1 or 2 year investment. We're not going to be wanting to spend that money again in a couple of years. It needs to last. So we need to see the life of that product extended through software releases and firmware upgrades where it gets better and better over time. So with 2 years with the My Energy Zappi, I have seen quite a few software versions, some that take it back a little and in its performance and how it works, and many that take it forward. And it is in a much better position now than it was when I first purchased the device. My concern with My Energy is whether they now focus on the Zappi 2 and forget all about the Zappi 1, and I don't get any further software releases into the future. That won't be very good, and it won't be a very good sign for those people buying a Zappi 2 that in a couple of years they won't be getting upgrades either. It's important that these companies give us software releases and give us improvements in the product across its life, not just in the first year or two. And that's the indication that I'm getting from My Energy. They do appear to be delivering on that. They seem to care about the software, they own it, they work on it, they have their own developers in-house working on it. Whereas Give Energy, I get the impression that the web portal is developed by one team and the app is being developed elsewhere. It seems a bit more disjointed. They don't seem to be releasing things as quick. They don't seem to be in as much control. And therefore, I'm a little bit more concerned about how software releases will occur in the future for the Give Energy product. It looks like it has great potential. But until there's actual evidence of them realizing that potential by implementing positive changes that take the product forward, then unfortunately it's just words, isn't it? And we need more than that. We need proof. We need to see actual improvement. I think the app is a good example that the Give Energy solution had the web portal to start with, and it looks excellent in some aspects. Its responsiveness, as in it only refreshes every 5 minutes, is pretty poor, and there are quite a few areas where it could be improved. There's too much white space, the data's not easily it's not as easy to get to some of the data as you'd like. There's too many clicks involved in getting to things. There aren't as many hyperlinks in there. So it can be improved a great deal. But now they've started to work on an app, and I've seen it under Android, and to be honest, it's awful. It just looks bad in every respect. Yes, it seems a little bit more responsive, but it's a test system with probably not a lot of data and not a lot of people on it. So you might expect it to be a little better. But the graphics, the text, the graphs, the spacing, the presentation, how you click through things to see different levels of data, it's all worse than what the web portal is. And that to me is a really, really bad sign, because even if it's only an alpha release and there's lots more to go, whoever's developed this first level thing clearly thinks that's a basis to build on, and it just looks awful. And I really hope that they can be brave and scrap it and start again, because what's good about the Give Energy solution is in the web portal. It's those graphs. It's how you can click on the different metrics and see the graph built up and see the scales change. That is where the value is. So the white background, the sharp, crisp graphs and the colors, that's what's good. So that is what they should build on. They should make sure it's got that, plus it's got that same crispness and the same responsiveness, but just make all of those improvements about getting through to the data you want and the graphs you want more quickly, less clicks to get to the right things. But sadly, the initial design just doesn't look very good at all. So where does that leave us with? Probably the other thing to mention is support. I would say that Give Energy in the UK are providing really good support. They're available, they're responding online, they are interested in hearing from customers, they are engaging. I find them really good, but I don't have a great amount of experience with providers. My experience so far is with My Energy, and they have a great attitude towards support, but unfortunately as they're growing quickly, some of their support staff, well, let's say, aren't as sharp and aren't as well trained as you might hope for when you're making a support call. You do get asked the same old questions over and over, and sometimes they don't seem to know the product as well as you do. So nobody's perfect in this matter. I just talked to SolarEdge support as well and submitted a call, and they ended up closing it without giving me any information or answer as to my problem. So I haven't found SolarEdge support very good either. Comparing battery-wise, Victron I've talked to. Actually, Victron, I had a really interesting conversation with their UK sales manager, and I was asking whether they were going to implement timed, not charging parameters, but timed discharging parameters for export. And he basically said that, why on earth would you want that? No, we're not going to be developing that. We've got a long list of things planned for years ahead to develop, and export time isn't one of them. Nobody would want to do that because it will degrade the performance of your battery. It will take up extra cycles of your battery. So it doesn't justify any money that you would get in exporting energy to the grid and getting payment for would be less than the cost of actually using that cycle on the battery. I was absolutely gobsmacked by that because one, it was clear that this guy didn't understand or know what the Octopus Agile tariff was, or that there was an outgoing tariff where at the time you could be paid £1 per kilowatt hour being exported. And he wasn't aware of that. He wasn't aware that the market is shifting more towards exporting to the grid as being a responsible thing to do, an environmentally friendly thing to do. People want a battery for that purpose, and he's saying that his product's not going to include that functionality. So it looks like Victron are going to be late to the party. Victron are waiting for everyone else to work out what to do and how to do it, and then when they realise that they're behind in the market, then they'll catch up and do something. I found that really disappointing. So again, support from Victron, not very good, because the functionality of this Give Energy battery is, let's say, state of the art. You've got these modes for changing the timing, charging overnight, how flexible they are, and the fact that they are going to implement multiple timers is a great thing. The fact that it already integrates with Octopus Agile is excellent, although from what I can see, it's not right for me, because the way it automates is that Octopus actually control the charging, and it will charge at times when I wouldn't want to charge the battery. So for me, it's not perfect. But it's a great thing that it is automated already in its early releases. So again, credit to Give Energy for getting that in there and recognising that's something that people do want. Shame on Victron for not thinking that customers would actually want that functionality, or not even being aware of the importance of the functionality. I would say it's probably one of the key drivers, because we don't get FIT payments for generating anymore. We get payments for exporting. So of course it's going to be a key element. And the other aspect that I was concerned about from Victron is, what are they really saying? Using the battery is bad because it doesn't justify using it, because you don't save enough to justify the expense of that cycle. And I just don't buy that. It is worth exporting energy to the grid, and it is worth using batteries. Yes, they're expensive. Yes, they might not cost justify for quite a long period of time, but they are good devices that we want and we want to use. So where am I going on that? What I'm basically saying is the support from Give Energy is actually pretty good. I've experienced poor support from My Energy at times, Solar Edge at times. I've never had to place a support call to Solus as yet for my Solus inverter, and that's basically because it doesn't really do anything. There's no functionality there at all. It's a really simple graphical system, and it's either up or it's down, and it works or it doesn't. It's not something I'm that interested in, so that simplicity means I've got no need to actually make support calls. So there we are. Hardware good, software beta feeling-ish. Firmware upgrades aren't going as well as I'd like. The long-term impression is that Give Energy aren't going to be capitalizing on the great start that they have with their web portal, and I find that really disappointing. I so hope I'm wrong. I so hope that they listen to this and realize that what they need to do is release things that are better. If you've got something that comes, don't just release an app because it's an app. If you release things that are worse and a step backwards, it won't go well. You need to take things forwards. And if you haven't got the developers in place to do it with the right technology to do it, stop and start and do it over then, because get it right before other companies take over that potential. Apart from My Energy, who might be developing a new battery for their portfolio, I can't think of anyone else that stands a chance of getting close to Give Energy's software solution if they take it forward. So the potential there of Give Energy is excellent, but for me, I just don't know whether they're going to get there. There's so many unknowns, isn't it? How much control is there? Where is the development occurring? What are the processes like? What are the restrictions? I mean, if it's anything like the IT department that I used to work for, it was the business that controlled where the IT resource went. And they basically had a steering committee that agreed what projects were going to be worked on, because the IT resource, the 100 or 200 members of staff that we had, could either work on one thing or another. They can't work on everything. So what they often did was they allocated what the projects wanted. So there'd be this one for mortgages, this one for investments, this one for banking. I worked in the finance industry. And the thing that never got worked on, that was always left till the very end and only got the slither of resources, was support. Support to improve what was already there. They're always wanting to work on the next greatest thing. All the managers wanted the kudos of their latest project. So that's what they wanted to work on. Support is dull and boring and doesn't make any money because it's just fixing things that got implemented in the past that weren't quite as good as they should have been. And nobody likes to admit that, do they? So support always suffers, and that's the sign of a really good IT team and a business that recognizes the value and the quality of their software. If they don't invest in support, if they don't invest in progressing the products they've got, making them better, then basically, is it a product that you're going to want to buy and keep for 10 to 20 years? That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking at the market for, to see which company I want to invest in. It's not just the product. If I buy a product that's good, but the company and the progression is rubbish, then I'm stuck with that for 10 to 20 years, or I've got to change it. So buying the bit of kit, buying either the car charger or the home storage battery, it's important which one you go for. So I've rattled on quite a bit, haven't I? But basically, I'm happy with the Give Energy battery. For the money, it's pretty good. So if I was starting afresh, would I choose the Give Energy battery? Probably not. There's too many things that haven't gone quite right. So I'm not getting the impression that they're the right company that I would want to buy the battery from. I hope to be proved wrong. I hope in the next few months that I do see some software releases come through and they're good. So I hope to see some evidence of improvement. But at the moment, after 4 months, I can't see it. Which battery would I go for? I'm sure I'll be asked that question, and the one that appeals is quite weird, because although I've just said I really don't like what Victron have said and done, I like the Victron Multi Plus 2 inverter battery charger, and mixed with PylonTech batteries, which are upgradable easily, I really like that solution. And that's top of my list at the moment. But I'd also like to see what My Energy are going to do with a battery. If they're going to have a battery inverter charger as part of their portfolio, that might be a really, really good buy, because I do have faith and trust that even though the My Energy app is the worst responding app that I have on my phone, it does go wrong every now and then. I think they're going to get it right in the future. So thank you for watching. I think I'll end the video here by basically saying that this is just my opinion. It's one user's experience, so please take it not with a pinch of salt necessarily, but do your own research, have a look around, see what other people are experiencing and not just mine. My opinions are my own. I'm not being paid or influenced by anyone to say these things, so it really is just a case of what my thoughts are. And for me, my expectations are really high with a company like Give Energy that says it's from one of the biggest battery manufacturers in China and that now has the UK branch, etc. You expect big things. They talk it up big. The hardware looks impressive. So the whole solution needs to deliver. And for me, that's where it's not. They've hyped it up so much and they're saying they're working on so many things, but nothing's getting delivered.
So just as an example and a test, this was shared with me the other day by Give Energy. It's something that's in development. It's an improvement on the smart charging that they have overnight. I wonder how long it'll take before we actually get it in the product.
And nothing's going very slickly either. So I'm a little bit apprehensive of what we're seeing being a little bit of smoke and mirrors. Anyway, enough of that. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and more videos to come soon on the electric car, my Mini, and more updates on our solar configuration. And actually, this month I've got a quote coming in for an air source heat pump, so maybe there'll be some information I can share on that in the next month or so. Anyway, until later, take care, see you again soon, and stay safe. Bye for now.